Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Monday. It's 9 on a Monday. It's 9 o'clock on a Monday. I'm sure it is, which means it's time for a 5x5. Now, this is where I take 5 different subjects. I spend 5 minutes talking about each subject. There's a countdown timer at the bottom of the screen. When the countdown reaches 0, I move on to the next subject. It's always quick. It's always snappy, and you never know what you're going to get. Now, today, I'm going to be starting this with another live performance. The live performances have become one of the most popular things on Magic TV, so they are going to continue. I'm going to do a live performance as part of this video. You're going to see me performing at a gig, and then what I'm going to do is break that down, and I'm going to talk to you about what I did, why I did it, why it made sense. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. Like I say, this is one of the most popular parts of Magic TV throughout the whole of the week, and people continue to say, do more, do more, do more. So that's what I'm doing. So that's going to be the first couple of segments. The first segment is going to be a live performance. Then we're going to talk about it. I'm also going to give you a sneak peek of an interview that's coming up and a whole bunch of stuff, including something that I do with a Rubik's Cube that you can put into your Rubik's Cube Act immediately. That's really kind of killer, and I love performing it. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. I'm going to put the two, I'm going to stack them up in your hand. Is that all right? And then make a fist and just keep your hand like that. Now, is that fair? No way I can cheat now. Here's what we're going to do. Sir, you're going to, actually, as your hands are free, you're going to use your imagination right now. I'm going to pretend, remember, we've got a 50p, a £2 coin and 2p in the hand. I'm going to pretend to take 2 coins out. Okay. Now, in your imagination, what 2 coins am I holding?
Did they tell you?
Yeah.
A 2p and 50 pence.
A 2p and a 50 pence. Now, take one. Take one of those coins. Reach. You've got to use your imagination. Reach over and take one of those coins. Lovely. I love how you did that. That was wonderful. Which coin have you got?
2p.
You got the 2p. Very good. I'm going to put the 50p away. So she made all the choices right there. You've ended up with the 2p coin.
Yeah.
And it's right there.
Yeah.
Now, if she really had taken the 2p out your hand, then it wouldn't be in there. But we put it in there. You've been holding on to it the whole time. There's no way we could cheat. Open up your hand. Which is bonkers. It really is. And look at how hard she was squeezing that thing as well, right? But we're going to try and make it come back. Make a fist. You have that 2p. On the count of 3, I want you to throw it at her hand. Use all your imagination. Do you have a good imagination?
Yeah.
If you haven't, can you imagine you have? That'd be good. We're going to try and make it go back into your hand. If that happens, everyone's going to give you a big round of applause. On the count of 3, throw. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. Now, one last thing. I need you to wave your hand over and make the most magical noise you know. Oh, that was so magical. If I was a coin, I'd come back. That was amazing. If I told you it was in there, would that be good?
Yes.
You don't believe me, though, do you? Open up your hand. Yeah, that would have been good, right? That would have been amazing. But it did come back. I know you don't believe me. Do you? And the reason she doesn't believe me is because right now, up until this very second, you haven't yet looked underneath your watch. Turn your hand over. And that's amazing. Give her a big round of applause. Well done. Okay, so this is basically coin under watch. And you notice at the very, very beginning, I'm loading the coin under the watch as I'm putting some other coins into the spectator's hand. Now, there's a couple of things that's important about this. First of all, when you're doing anything under watch, but especially coin under watch, you need time misdirection from when you touch their hand and load the coin to when you reveal it. I see so many magicians load the coin and 2 seconds later reveal it. You need to have that time misdirection. Secondly, it's not really just good enough loading a duplicate coin under a watch, having a coin disappear with a false transfer and showing it's there. You need to kind of structure the routine in a little bit of a stronger way. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a Scotch and soda or a coin unique. And this is one of my favourite routines to do because it builds in the time misdirection. So I put the coin unique and an indifferent coin into the spectator's hand. So in other words, I know the 2 pence is going to disappear, or the 10 pence is going to disappear. I then have somebody else pantomime taking coins out, and I use equivoke to make sure they end up on the coin that is going to disappear inside the shell, which I've also loaded underneath the wrist. So the vanish is very strong and happens inside the spectator's hand. And it's an incredible vanish. And for those people that say, oh, I don't use coin unique, there's nothing stronger in this type of situation. They're convinced there's 3 coins in their hand. When you put the 3 coins in your hand, you put them out in a stepped condition. So when they close their hand, it automatically locks.
But it allows me to have the byplay of one or two other spectators, and you can see everyone's having a good time, so that when they open up their hand and the coin vanishes, it's a really strong moment because of the equivoke. They think that's the end of the routine. And then you reveal that the coin returns back underneath the watch. And again, I make a big deal of that. I tell them, it's going to appear, and then I turn their hand over. Now, the only piece of advice I can give you with coin under watch in this sort of environment, in a walk-around environment, is to pick the right spectator and make sure that you have nailed your audience management. What you don't want to do is have the spectator prematurely open their hand to reveal the coin's gone. You don't want to have them drop their hand down to the side when you've made the coin vanish, thinking that that's the end of the trick, because that would obviously kill things. You need them to keep their hand there. And have a look at the performance again. You'll see in the way that I speak to the lady and the way that I deal with the lady, I'm completely in control of the situation the whole time, so that I know that there's not a problem. Even when I'm focusing my attention on other people during the course of the trick, I'm still keeping an eye on her the whole time. And I think the most important thing when you're doing any routines like this in a walk-around environment is to make sure that you have nailed your audience management. Other than that, try the routine. Using a Scotch and soda or a coin unique to do the vanish, to then have the coin appear underneath the watch, is a really strong moment. The vanish is really strong, the appearance is really strong, and it's got that built-in time misdirection that you need in a routine like this.
Okay, so you guys know that I'm a big fan of Rubik's Cube magic, and I learned Rubik's Cube magic from Cube 3, so I was quite late into the game when it came to cubing. And I learned it from Cube 3, Stephen Brundridge's product, which I still recommend as a great product to learn cube magic from. The section on how to solve a Rubik's Cube is fantastic. Anyway, I digress. He's got a whole bunch of solves on there. And one of the solves that everybody likes is his imagination solve, which I don't do, but I do agree it looks beautiful. There's another solve that he does on there, which he kind of almost like dismisses. He talks about it, but then he dismisses it and he says it's really angly and it's really angle prone, and I don't do it that often because the angles are quite bad on it. But then he kind of teaches at you. And I saw that, and for a long time I didn't do that solve. And the reason I didn't do the solve is I was listening to him and I was going, all right, okay, it's quite angly. And basically what it is, let's say that the spectator says yellow, and I'm going to do a performance in a second of the way I do it. But let's say the spectator says yellow. He mixes up the cube and does what you need to do. And I'm not going to give the game away because it's not my trick to teach. It's Stephen Brundridge's. You need to get Cube 3 to learn the solve. But what he does is he holds a cube like this, and this is why it's angly. He covers it up with his hand, and as he covers it up with his hand, it slowly starts to solve like this. And he's right, it is very angly. It looks great because then the rest of the cube solves, but it is very, very angly. And it's really the only thing that you can do if you step away from the audience, right? I do this in every cube performance. If you've ever seen me do a live cubing video to a real audience, you'll see me do this. Because what I've done, instead of actually using my hand as cover, I'm shaking the cube instead, which is a small change. And last week, on last week's 5x5, I talked about 1 degree, John Gustafero's concept of a 1 degree change. In other words, looking at a routine, making a 1 degree change, which improves it for your own personal use. And that's what I think I've done here. And this channel is all about giving you guys ideas that you can maybe use in your own magic. So I wanted to spend 5 minutes here talking to you about what I've done with this cube solve to make it more practical, at least for me. So when you do it as a shake instead of a cover, there's no angles. I even have people looking at it on the side and they don't see anything, because once you've set it up, and again, I'll do a performance for you in a second, but once you've set it up, right? So I'm set up again now to do yellow. Instead of covering it with your hand, you shake it. They see the square with the yellow in it, and you immediately see 2 yellow. But if you're looking at it from the side or from the back, it just looks like you shake the cube. It doesn't look like anything. So you can look at it from any angle, from above or below, and it just looks like that side that they've named is slowly starting to fill in. and then the rest of the cube solves as well. So it's a really nice way of doing the Brundage solve off cube 3. So I'm going to do a performance of this now. If you look back on the old 5x5s, you'll see me doing a live performance of the cube to a real audience, and you can see me do that in a real environment. But I'm going to do a quick performance for you now so you can see exactly what it looks like using a shake instead of putting your hand in front to cover it. Okay, so I've got Jack behind the camera. Jack, we're going to do something with a Rubik's Cube. Is that all right, buddy?
Yeah, man.
6 sides to a Rubik's Cube, 6 different colours. Which colour would you like me to use, Jack?
I used the red one.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to mix this cube up. And I'm going to try and do something, but just with the red colour, okay? Just with the red colour. That's what I'm going to do it with, just the red colour. Because you wanted red, didn't you, yeah?
I did.
And I'll even tell you how it works. What you need to understand with a Rubik's Cube, if you're going to try and solve a Rubik's Cube, what you have to understand is the centre points of a Rubik's Cube never move. So in other words, if you wanted to solve the orange side, it would have to be there where the orange side is. That couldn't be the orange side. That would have to be the yellow side. That would have to be the blue side. That would have to be the white side. That would have to be the green side. You get the idea?
Makes sense.
But you wanted the red side, which is that one right there, isn't it, Jack?
Yep.
Now, can you see that red side?
Yeah, I see it.
Do you see there's 9 squares?
Yep.
There's only one square, which is the centre one, which is red, which means that whole side has to be red.
Basically.
So I'm going to try and solve this cube in slow motion, just the red side with one hand in slow motion. You see, if you watch carefully, we'll go from one red square to 2 red squares.
Wait, what?
I'll do it again. You see the 2 red squares, yeah?
Yeah.
If I shake, we go to 4 red squares. If I do it again, we go to 6 red squares. If we go up and down, I go to 9 red squares. Of course, that's good, but if I snap my fingers, I can do the whole cube at the same time and make every single colour on the cube solve as well.
What?
Okay, so one of my favourite magicians is Brent Braun. I've been a big fan of his since he brought out Torched and Restored many years ago. And Brent has done it all and then some. He's a consultant with massive success. He runs the Magic Firm. He's released some of the most popular products in magical history. And he is a super nice guy. I'm so excited that I'm bringing an interview with him for you guys this Saturday. And I wanted to give you a sneak peek of the Brent Braun interview. It's going to be epic. And by the way, he gives you a sneak peek of a brand new wallet that's coming soon, that's going to blow your mind. It's even better than the FPS wallet, which was really good. So let's have a look at that sneak peek of the Brent Braun interview coming this Saturday on Magic TV.
Working more for people who are working on their own show, and they would come to town or they would fly me out and I would watch their show and I would create magic specifically for them. And I think the reason it worked so well for me is because I was no longer writing material for myself at all. So that I could learn to write in someone else's voice, which is the number one complaint I have with some consultants that I see, is that I can watch things they've written and I can know that they wrote it.
Yeah.
Because it's not in the characters, it's not in the person's voice. It's not, it's the thing that I think a lot of magicians lack, right? And that is that they see something they like and they do it, even though it doesn't fit their character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? But they like it. So they just want to jam it into the show. They want to do that new Gregory Wilson pickpocketing routine and just jam it into their show, even though the person they are would never steal stuff.
Yeah.
So how does this premise even make sense in your show? And I see that with a lot of consultants, right? I see a lot of, there's a consultant out there right now who works pretty heavily and he's really funny. And I see him write really funny routines for people that aren't really funny, and I think those years off, that's what helped me, Craig, is that I wasn't creating content for myself anymore. I started creating content for other people and I really started to understand. Yeah. Let me take a step back from who they are. It's also the number one reason to hire a consultant, is because when I ask people this, like, who are you? Most people can't define it. They can't define themselves. And when they do define themselves, they define themselves wrong because they define themselves how they imagine the audience sees them, but that's not how the audience sees them at all. Right. Which is why it's important to have somebody watch your stuff. And it doesn't have to be a paid consultant. It might not even be a magician. Like if you know a guy locally who writes plays and directs stuff and you go see one of his plays, afterwards say, hey man, I'd love you to watch my show and tell me what you think about it. I'll pay you $300 and just have him come watch it and write you a 2-page thing on what he thinks about it. Because he's going to be honest and he's going to be real, but he might tell you that he doesn't understand the rope trick because it didn't match anything else. And you can't see that. There's no way that when you're in it, you can see that, But that's why during those 6 years that I was working that day job, the consulting really started to take off for me. I started to consult with a lot of people and write a lot of amazing content for people. And again, that time is the time that taught me to write material for others, because I wasn't writing anything for myself. So I wasn't writing tricks for myself and then giving them to performers, right? I wasn't like saying, here's the thing I do all the time, do my trick, because that's not consulting, right? That's selling you my trick, right? So that's the time that I sort of disconnected from that, but still loved magic and still loved methods and still loved all the consulting stuff. It was just the grind of being out in a nightclub late at night, the grind of feeling pressure to release a brand new trick every 4 months, right? That, you know, we see that in the industry a lot. It was that pressure that I just didn't sort of gel with.
And that, although we're going to be talking later on about everything else that you do, that consultancy has stayed with you the rest of your career. You've consulted with a lot of big names, but also you've consulted with a lot of people on Fool Us. I know that for a fact.
Yep.
And am I correct in saying that you were a big part of Dwayne's AGT experience? Is that right?
Dustin.
Sorry, Dustin.
Yeah.
We get BGT over here, so I've seen it, but yeah. I saw all of it. Amazing stuff. Stuff. Like, absolutely very different to any other magician that I'd ever seen on any sort of talent show. But so good.
Thanks, man. So that's the thing very early on, right? And also I'll have to give a shout out to Danny Garcia, super huge. So I brought him on. I started working with Dustin, and once we got onto like the semifinals or went somewhere in there, I said, look, we need somebody else on this team that's incredible. I called Danny Garcia. He had time to make it on the team. And Danny Garcia and I, man, if anybody in the world needs to hire two consultants to work together, we work together so it's impossible to explain how well we work together. And I don't know why. We think completely different, but we think cohesively together. And it's just like when he and I are in a room together, it's just lightning. And then Dustin is, so when I talk about AGT in general, and I don't know how much you follow, but I'm sure you follow the magicians, you know, Matt Franco wins because he's boy next door. He could be a baseball player and I would love him in my high school, right? He's just that boy next door. He makes magic fun. And before that on TV, we had magicians that were just like, whoa, look at me magicians. He was sort of the first guy who was like, man, I'm just fun. Like, I just love magic and I want to share magic with you. And you're like, yes, he's passionate about magic. He shares that passion and he's just a boy next door. I love him, right? And we hadn't really seen that. Then Shin Lim comes along, and I say Shin Lim for the first time showed America card magic instead of card tricks. Mm-hmm. Because before that, we were dealing cards into piles and we were shuffling and we're doing tricks. And then Shin Lim comes along and, you know, he does magic with cards, which America had never seen. So part of being on that show is creating an archetype or a story or a hook that no one's seen. And that's where Dustin comes along, and he's just a really great storyteller. And really passionate about all the things that he has to talk about. And then life happens. Some amazing things happen, right? He's adopted one child, and he talks about that in his original audition. And then between that and the quarterfinals, he gets to adopt that other child's brother. He gets to bring the brothers together, which just is such a powerful story. But it's a real story that just happened, right? While Dustin is living in LA in a hotel, trying to figure out how to live life and trying to figure out what this AGT thing means, he gets an opportunity to do this other thing. And then we tell that story. And then we start to automatically, the narrative in our head just builds itself. And we go, here's what we can talk about every single time to make this make sense until we get to the final.
Okay, guys, I want to give you a little bit of a tip for those of you that have got my routine playlist, which I brought out through Alakazam a couple of weeks ago. I obviously bought out Playlist, and it's been super popular. So for those of you that have bought it, thank you very much. And I talk on the download about how you can actually use it with the Jameson wallet, which you can. However, at the time when I filmed that, and at the time when I was creating Playlist, I didn't have an Orphic wallet. Well, one thing that I wanted to draw to your attention for people that have got an Orphic, and this is an Orphic Plus, for one thing that I wanted to draw to people's attention is you can actually have playlists set up in your Orphic. It doesn't affect the card to wallet that you might be doing. It doesn't affect the peak. It doesn't affect any of that stuff. But it allows you to go straight into playlist very, very easily without needing to, like even open up the wallet. So the idea is I know that I've got the one side of playlist set up on the side with the ID compartment. So all I have to do is take my wallet out, open up this, talk about the concept of music download cards, And then I've got all the cards that I need to do for all the ESP matchup routines and all of the mentalism routines. And then when I put that away like that, I can do the turnover that I explained in the Orphic download. So I can kind of go, actually, should we do one more thing? And now I can bring out this, and I'm set up for the wildcard routine. So I can do the wildcard routine literally back to back without apparently switching anything. And it's easy to remember which side's which, because when I bring the wallet out, I just open up the wallet and I look for the ID case, and then I close it up, and I know that's the side that I need to start off with first. And then inside the wallet, I have the question mark with the barcode for the prediction reveal. So I've got everything that I need inside this wallet to do playlist. I'm going to do a quick performance of how the switch looks close up, and I'll quickly run through the wildcard routine with playlist so you get the idea. I think that this is how I do it now. So I have this in my pocket. It doesn't bulk up anything because playlist takes up no space. You know, some people have said on the cafe, 20 cards is going to take up a lot. Honestly, with an Orphic wallet, it takes up nothing. It's on the outside. It doesn't affect anything on the inside. I've got my real credit card in there. I've got money in there. I've got my Magic Circle membership card for which is in the part with the peak, and it's in the part for the cards and wallets. I've got the prediction. I've also got something else in there that I'm not going to show you right now, but I've got absolutely everything, and I'm set up, and it's perfect to hold everything. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So let's just assume that I've just done a couple of routines with these cards. These are the cards that you use kind of like marked ESP cards. So these are the 10 cards that you use as kind of like an ESP deck. And how the switch would work is I would just literally put it away, and then I'd say, actually, Jack, do you want to do one more? Can I do one more thing for you?
Yeah, go on.
And then they've been touching and feeling and examining those the whole time. And then I say, look, I tell you what, we'll do one more thing. And now I bring them back out. And now I'm into the situation where I'm set up to do the wild card with the same props. But what's nice is the cards have been examined. And just in case you haven't seen the wild card, it is on the trailer, but I'll do it for you. Jack, I've got these music download cards, yeah?
Yep.
They're all, you can get them from service stations. They used to be really popular years ago, but I collect them when I see them, and I've collected them over the years because they're really good for Magic. I've got 10 cards, and it's the same cards. Like I've got Michael Jackson, I've got Britney, I've got Beyonce, I've got Beatles, Uptown Funk, and I've got like 2 sets of them, if that makes sense. So I've got 10 cards altogether, 2 sets, yeah?
Yep.
We're going to get you to pick one at random, if that's okay?
Yep.
So I'm just going to go through like this, yeah? So the idea is I'm going to go through these cards, and any time you want to, you can just say stop. So anytime you want.
Stop.
There. Do you want that one there, yeah?
Yes, please.
Okay, and you could have had that one or that one or that one. I mean, that was a free choice, right?
Yep.
But you ended up on this one. Doesn't matter whether I see it. We got Uptown Funk. Are you an Uptown Funker? Are you a fan of Uptown Funk? Do you know the song? Yeah. Just so you know, I actually use that as the opening music in my Illusion show. There you go. Useless information that you didn't need to know.
Is this why I'm never invited?
Huh?
Is this why I'm never invited?
It's why you're never invited. But we're going to try and do something. You could have picked anyone. You picked Uptown Funk, right? If I take the 2 Uptown Funk cards and rub them together, it's not very impressive, really, because if I showed there were 2 Uptown Funk, it's not impressive. Of course, obviously, you know there's 2 Uptown Funk. Yep. But if I took the Beatles, right, and I did this, and I turned that one into Uptown Funk as well.
Wait, what?
Yeah, right, now it's getting a bit weird. Let me do that again with this one. You see, if I just do this, that one turns into Uptown Funk. I mean, think about this for a minute. You could have picked anybody, but you see Beyonce there, and yet a second later, I just do that. And I mean, look, all of them. It's ridiculous. Let me do it really slowly. I'd do this in your hands if you were here. You're not here. But I could literally, if I wanted to, do it in the hands. You see Michael Jackson. You see me rub it, and you see it change. I mean, honestly, this is kind of the weirdest, most magical thing I know I've ever seen. Let me try this one more time. If I do this, I can get that one into Uptown Funk. This is why I can't play music around my house. Every time I touch a CD or I switch on Spotify, all I get is like the same track over and over again. Sarah just gets really fed up about it. And you could have picked any track. You picked Uptown Funk. And I've got a situation now where every single one of these cards all the way through is Uptown Funk. And I just don't get that at all. Okay, guys, that is another 5x5 in the bag. Thank you very much for joining me right here on Magic TV on a Monday evening. I really appreciate the fact that you could be picking a lot of stuff to do right now, and you've chose to spend the last half an hour with me. Thank you very much. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I love reading your comments, so please keep them coming. You want to see more videos like this? You know what you got to do. You just got to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and I'm going to be back again tomorrow, Tuesday, with 3 videos. There's going to be a live at 6 o'clock, a shorts at 2 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock I'm going to be back with a Magic Live interview. So I'll see you then. Thanks very much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic